This is the Next Wave Shark 10.1 control pendant. And by the end of this video, you're going to know if this is the right upgrade for you.
idcwoodcraft.com.
The Shark pendant is a touchscreen control system with a user interface built just for you. We're going to walk through step by step exactly how this user interface from Next Wave works and why I chose the upgraded pendant. Next Wave machines come standard with an LCD pendant. It's about this big. As you can see, it's a lot smaller. The user interface is a lot smaller with a lot less options. So that's why I chose to upgrade to the 10.1. Let's walk through everything the 10.1 pendant has to offer. Upon startup, your homing system, which is built in, my favorite, is illuminated red. That is because it has not been homed since the system was restarted. Options are homing X-axis, homing the Y-axis, or homing both. We're going to home both, and here it jumps into the warning to make sure you've got nothing on your spoil board before your system is ready to move. For me personally, I love the warnings and the double buttons. It gives me a moment to pause, double check my spoil boards and my steps, and make sure I'm ready to move on. I home my machine every single time I start it up before any project. That gives me the security of the accuracy the machine has that I don't, and I know my X and Y will be accurate every single time. Once your machine is done homing, it will jump you back to the home screen and your home button is no longer illuminated red. I am going to notate right in here, in the homing system is where the work offsets are kept, and I'll show you how to use those in just a second. Once you've got your machine homed, it's time to jog it where you want it to go. Your jogging will always start in max. So when you're jogging your machine, you've got your controls X, Y, and then of course, your dual controls to go diagonally across the board. Another upgrade difference between the 10.1 pendant and the LCD is the diagonal jogging. The 10.1 pendant has diagonal jogging, allowing you to create more swift adjustments, move along your project a little bit faster, or get it out of your way. Whereas the LCD only has left, right, forward, back, so X and Y individually. From there, you can change your speeds, slow, make more micro adjustments, medium, fast, and max. And then we've got the jogging function, which you can set your jogging distance. With the jog function, I can sit here and tap this all day long and it will continue to move no matter how many times. But if I put it back into the regular function, especially fast, it needs more time to register that I want it to jog than just click, click, click. It's not gonna move. But if I give it a second to register, it knows I want it to come back this way. So that's kind of a pro-con for me. Gives me a minute to slow down because we all know I like to move a little bit faster than the project can. But as far as getting something moving quickly and trying to make quick adjustments, your best bet is to jump down to jog to get it to react as quickly as you need to. And then from there, you can also adjust how much it's jogging. Once you've got your jogging down, you're free to start your zeroing. Right here in the start, you've got your XY zeroing and your Z zeroing. Let's start with the XY. That just zeroes it right where you've left it. So center it on the corner of your project and it'll keep that. Now I told you we were gonna take you back to those work offsets. Once you've got your X and Y zero set, you're gonna go into your work offsets and you're going to save your new work offset here. Say we've got several pieces to throw down, or it's gonna be a long carve, so there's always risk of, some sort of electrical happenstance that's gonna shut your machine down, and you're gonna wanna have your X and Ys ready to go. I'm gonna save it right there. It's gonna warn you that it's overriding any previous work offsets. Yes. Gives you, again, a chance to make sure you've selected the right one and you're not ruining any previous work that you wanna go back to. From there, to load up that work offset, you hit load, you select that same offset, and it's letting you know that it's changing your zero, and you're gonna lose that zero, and it's gonna go to that one. So, go back, move to 0, move to XY0, and it's moving to the new one we saved using the work offsets. On to Z-zeroing, there are two options. Once you've got it adjusted, I like to use the step function to get it as close as possible. That's if you're doing manual. If you're doing manual, you're all set. If you're doing the touch plate, once you have it close and over the top of your project, you can use the touch plate, secure that connection, and proceed with zeroing. Now we're going to move back down to this panel here. We've touched homing. Let's see what this move to zero does. If it wasn't already self-explanatory enough, move to XY0 brings you back to your start position in X and Y, and move to Z0 does the same with the Z position. The Z0 is good to make sure your Z is set properly all the way down to the surface of your material or spoil board, depending upon where you're starting from. Next, we're moving on to apps. Here's where you have your touch plate calibration for your zero plate. Then there's the Digitizer, and that is for 3D mapping physical objects on your CNC machine, replacing the bit to scan. And then you have your laser apps. Next Wave also offers a laser to attach to your CNC machine, and that is where you integrate that. Next is settings. We have our info, accessories, pendant, controller, and registration. I've already gone through the registration process of this, but whenever you get a Next Wave pendant, you will have to go through the registration process, and that'll get you all hooked up and ready to go. And the last option and next section for this is file loading. From the top here, we have file saving. You can actually save a file directly to your pendant. If you have a frequently used file, your surfacing file, so you can easily access it to surface your spoil board or projects at any time, you can load those directly onto your machine without tying up your USB. Those files to save to your machine are pulled directly from your USB, or when you're running any sort of project just from it, that is where you pull them. Small disclaimer, occasionally when the image comes through, it does not come through quite properly. I'll have like a random line that's coming in from the side or going across the middle. I have found that that is not in the toolpath or affecting the carve at all. It's just visually annoying. So occasionally detaching your USB and reattaching it will fix that problem. Occasionally it's just that the image isn't loading properly into the user interface. Once you've got your file loaded, you'll see there's options along the left side here, starting with this top eye. That gives you a perspective straight into your G-code. If there's anything that you're worried about, want to make sure it's in there, you get a chance to view it. If you have a line that you need to start from, again, you get a chance to view it. The next one is the virtual zeroing. I don't know what the U is for. You'll see it's asking for 5 different points to map out the irregularity of your project shape. From there, it's able to map out where to go and where not to go. And you can add more than 5 points in, and that will benefit you if your piece has more contour to it or has a bit more of a lift than you're comfortable with it just guessing about. Say, for example, you're carving into a whiskey barrel stave. Those have a nice arch to them, so you're going to scan at least 5 points, all 4 corners and the middle, and it's going to calculate that curve to put your design along. For the file I have loaded up, I don't have a long enough wonky piece, but if you were to V-carve on something like this with an extreme curve, or as I said, a wine stave or a whiskey barrel stave, this is going to be the zeroing technique you'll want to use. With the virtual zero, it's going to recommend a 5-point system. With this tool here, you can move your machine around and add in more points. So if you have a longer piece that has a greater arch, adding in more contact points will guarantee that virtual zero. There's another one of those pause points, giving you a moment to make sure everything's clear and you are ready for the machine to move. It's coming up to our first point here. Give it contact. And it's also letting us know how many points it's done and how many points to go. Make contact again. And there we have a completed virtual zeroing. All these points that we created were once red X's are now green. It's got all the positioning, and you're ready for an irregular carve. I will admit, this was my very first time using the virtual zeroing. And honestly, for a beginner, it is a very easy user interface. I had no issue going through the steps and figuring out where to go. I also have a theory on this. I think that these shadows and lighter spots are indicating where it thinks the variance in the Z-plane is. So down here, it's a little bit lower because this board jiggled. Up here, it's a little bit lighter, a little bit lower because it jiggled, and these are our high points. But again, that's just a theory. Next, we have the air cutting option. To turn that on, you just click it. To turn it off, you click it off again. And this function is helpful for previewing your projects, making sure your X and Y are lined up and everything's going to carve into the proper places, especially helpful if you're carving on irregular projects. Also, if you have any sort of clampage that you're worried about running into, the air cutting factor gives you a bit of time and space to map out everything and make sure nothing's going to be in the way of the spindle or the bit. And your last but not least option is the toolpath you're working with here. You can just start by hitting the play button, or like when you looked back to your lines, if you have a certain line you need to start from, you can select that line, or you can enter which line yourself. If you're ready to start from your file start point, you're going to hit play. And here's another one of those pause points. It's asking you if you want to run the spindle automatically or manually. Manually is a very rare case situation. I have not used it yet. For myself, I would see a quick surfacing adjustment, a quick data file, checking your spindle. As I said, I haven't used it personally. If you have a use for it, let me know what you use it for, because I'd love to explore that option a little bit more. On the automatic, that is running straight from everything you've put in your file. From there, it's going to start up from your feeds and speeds, input it in your tool database, and you're ready to go. One last thing while this sits here and spins, you have a pause function and a cancel function directly from the user interface. So if it's not an emergency situation, you can cancel things out without shutting everything down. Once you've updated to the most recent firmware update, these two buttons will change, and your 0x and y goes from 0xy to 0xyz, and you can individually zero or group zero. And then they've placed the touch plate zeroing right on the front screen. And inside the file load up, your preview image will be different, and you have three options here: yes, no, load without analyzing. So we hit yes, and it's actually giving us a way cleaner preview image than it did before. These updates just go to show how much Next Wave listens to you, the customer, what you have to say and what you would like to see in their software and how your operation is going to flow. Some final pros and cons between the 10.1 Pendant and the LCD. I love having the user interface show my file off and the progress throughout the entire carve, giving me time to check in, see where it's going, and make sure everything's moving in the right direction and getting proper results. It also gives me the ability to take my computer away from the carving space and back into the design space so I can keep designing while the machine keeps carving and no dust gets in between my keyboard. Con to that is I haven't quite figured out how to configure my USB properly, so each time I do pull it out of the machine, I have to run a scan on my computer before I can use the USB again. In the end, as a creator personally, I couldn't imagine not having the 10.1 Pendant option and all of the upgrades that it has to offer. compared to the LCD and the functions. I'm able to get a lot more control right here from the machine at my fingertips rather than bouncing back and forth between my design office and my workshop. If you have or are looking to get a Next Wave machine, I personally would go straight for the 10.1 upgrade to make sure your processes go as smoothly as possible. If you're a Next Wave machine user or enthusiast and this video was helpful for you, please be sure to give that like button. If you have any other ways I can improve how I use my 10.1 Pendant, comment below and how it's benefited your workflow. Subscribe to see us next time on idcwoodcraft.com. Learn more now. Go to woodcraftresources.com.